Hi everyone. Well, I just decided to do this live as there is a topic that is pulsing in the field big time and which is related to very specific unidentified flying objects that have been witnessed. I'm just checking that all the transmission is fully going and that have been witnessed circling around very specific areas. And well, of course, we know that this has been happening for a while now, that ETs have been here for a while. And even though currently a lot of the media has been and people also witnessing these unidentified flying objects as drones. There are many things that are going on right now, and some of them are related to something in a specific, perhaps human like, and other things are related to precisely the ET community that has been openly more exposed into the common eye because there are less and less filters to this information, which is amazing. So now there was a very specific video that was shared to me by a very by a beloved friend that caught my attention because, and differently to other ones that I have seen about these drones, this one shows in a very precise way how time travel functions. This is what I perceive, this is what I tuned into, and this is what I have been working on for a while now when it comes to how we relate to the quantum field and how we can get to travel in time. So I'm going to show a few slides to explain to you where I'm coming from and mainly the video that I'm referring to, because this, as I was saying, in comparison to other videos that are being shown, um, led me to the connection, to the direct connection and confirmation to what I have been tuning into for a couple of months now, or even years, that how this reality is going to evolve and be restored into the primordial field. When I'm talking about the primordial field, or the primordial, more beyond the primordial field, the primordial matrix or the initial matrix, as I have shared in other posts and videos, is referring to, we know that we live in a so-called simulation, which is a holographic reality that has very specific algorithms that takes us to a reality that in fact happened or is happening in another timeline, us as multidimensional beings. And that at some point it was reshaped with artificial means in order to create this entangled program where we believe that we're looping into events and into situations in order to awake and restore our connection to that primordial matrix. The primordial matrix or initial matrix is what that reality which existed before the artificial matrix existed here in Earth, in planet Earth. When very specific groups of galactic community were here in Earth, um, creating and expanding their own civilizations, and that at some point, I'm talking specifically about the Atlantean civilization, they tried to accelerate the process, the evolutive process of planet Earth, of its consciousness, through by creating Merkabas in very specific points in the Earth, to be precise, 12. So those 12 Merkabas would be redirecting and enhancing the natural and organic process of the Earth's Merkaba. As we know, we all have, every form of consciousness has its own Merkaba, its own vehicle of light. And when we activate this and expand it, then we are capable to move into different dimensions, or let's say forms of perception. For instance, when we are, um, let's say, expanding into a fifth dimension or fifth density, what we are doing is that we, through our light body in a very subtle form, we are capable to move or to shift into a higher form of perception, which brings information to a unified consciousness. I mean by this, instead of going from pole to pole, we are reaching that singularity, that point in communion. That's the way to actually transcend third density. When we bring those poles that are part of the very same force into unity from within, us being that axis creator of our own reality. So now, when we talk about the fourth density, we're talking about that transition, of course, in between the third density and the fifth density through the mastery of time, what we know as time. And time, what is, imagine, of course, the universe doesn't have clocks. It's like, it's not looking at the time in that way. So, however, how we got to measure the cycles in which this universe functions is what we know as time. So, what are cycles? Cycles are pulses, a rhythm, a continuous rhythm that goes on to different extensions of itself, creating different time frames or cycle frames. So, why I'm saying this? Because when we try to understand and understand how the universe functions, how this reality functions, it's actually very simple. It's not attached to a specific drama or to a novel. You know, Information is just energy that behaves in very specific forms and comes together or isolated to one another due to the resonance that it emits. So now, when I was talking about these 12 Merkabas that were artificially created to accelerate the pace in which the Earth's consciousness, planet Earth's consciousness, was organically delivering, then these were placed next to 12 specific stargates that connect through wormholes to the Earth's core. The Earth's core being a black hole, which soon will be proved because the magnetic density field of the Earth is equally to be translated as it has a black hole in its center as the sun has. And even the plasma that is, underground, um, at a very specific level, it also shows the fundamental construction of what would be the correlation in between a black hole, and the event horizon being the surface of the Earth. So as we see, when we translate how the universe functions, it's just fundamental patterns that keep on repeating at different scales. So now, what happened? In the last cataclysm, and due to this artificial Merkabas over accelerating and then collapsing, because imagine what happens when you have a vehicle of light at a higher scale. I'm not talking now subtly shifting from a form of perception. I'm talking about literally bringing the density into a plasmic spherical body, spinning and then traveling in time and even faster than light. Then what happens is that imagine these Merkabas over accelerated, spinning, and then what happens to the space time fabric? Imagine, I'm going to show an image just quickly. So imagine that this is the space-time fabric, okay? This is what we get to know as the space memory network. It's not flat, it's a hologram. It's a holofractographic field. And this hologram is actually vibrating, you know, it's moving. It's moving through the informational spheres that are compressed and interacting with it, generating a curvature that, due to the gravity, starts to create a reality, just as these two spheres. Imagine these are universes, okay? That, due to the level of coherence that they have, they create this bubble that, as with which in which we exist, we can call it a matrix. So, for instance, this is moving, okay? Now imagine that, due to those Merkabas that were created in planet Earth, instead of this having, a rhythmic motion, it starts to over accelerate it, super, like moving at a very rapid pace. So what happens? These lines are going to entangle onto an extent that they are going to merge, okay? And when they merge, what happens is that one of the things, because many things happen, one of the things that actually happened is that we started to generate a confusion in between those very same timelines. What's happening? What is not happening? What is existing right now? What is not? What is just part of another reality, of another dimension? Because the timelines were so entangled that they were merging, and at some point they merged, making collapse other ones, and the other ones that collapsed were filled in with the information of those ones that continue to exist. So what generated this on the Earth's matrix? Because planet Earth had a matrix before, because every construction of reality is a matrix. So when we talk about a matrix, it's not just an imprisonment. No, it's a contained construction of a reality that is that that is existing, just as this. But before, another matrix existed, a matrix that was aligned to the Earth and the Earth's organic rhythm. So when all these timelines started to merge due to those artificial Merkabas that were created in very specific 12 points in planet Earth, where now we locate the triangles that are commonly related to having this devil energy, like the Bermuda Triangle, the Dragon's Triangle, or the Triangle of Death in Japan, other in Afghanistan, other in Canary Island, and so forth, and then the North Pole and the South Pole. Well, all these 12 Merkabas started to generate this vibration that was merging the timelines and collapsing the timelines as well. So it created a big fissure in the Earth's matrix, in the Earth's primordial matrix. So what was needed to be done, was creating an alternate matrix in the meantime that the primordial matrix of the Earth regenerated itself. It was fissured, it was wounded, through this acceleration, over acceleration. So what was created was precisely this artificial matrix. That's why it's artificial. And that's why it takes information of what it is, and then through those pillar algorithms recreate another reality that has those taints of truth, yet filled in with the information that whoever programmed that matrix. And this is what we are experiencing. So now, as we are talking about cycles, this cycle right now is merging with a, a state of a principle of truth, which is the cycling of the solar system around the Alcyon's photon belt, which is a 26,000 year cycle in relation to the precession of the equinoxes and the appearance of many other planets like Nibiru and so forth, that actually influence big time the Earth through um, the shifts of the magnetic poles, the magnetic poles reversal, and which actually we can even see it confirmed when we go through ancient texts and they refer to the south as the north, like speaking of the lands that are now considered to be the south, were related to be the ones in the north, and the one in the north being the ones in the south, because that is talking about a timeline before that reversal, magnetic poles reversal happened. So that's one thing, and that's one of the pillars, of truth that remain and are core algorithms to this artificial matrix. So now, on the other hand, and what we can see precisely through these unidentified flying objects is that there is a huge overlapping in between the timelines again. Why? Because those 12 portals continue to exist and continue to bring in very specific entities, very specific ETs, very specific frequencies. And now, as the magnetic field of the Earth is weakening due to its magnetic pulse reversal, then all of these stargates connecting through the Earth's wormhole are accelerating again. So we can actually use this tide to now generate awareness of the fourth density and start surfing the quantum and being aware of all the timelines that are actually merging. Because also a lot of people have approached to me telling me about experiences that they have had in which they are having dreams, very specific dreams, and then when they awake, something happens that is actually making them be in a space where, well, I will mention because otherwise it will be kind of complex to relate it. But for instance, they are dreaming of having a dream with fire, and they wake up because the fire alarm was on, and there was no fire in their room, So that's talking about timelines merging. So what does this mean? What does this represent? When this happens, it's because a matrix is collapsing. A contained sphere of reality is collapsing because its cycle, as the stars, as the sun, as ourselves, is is reaching its last momentum and then opening up to a new cycle. So this is what's happening to this artificial matrix. This artificial matrix is now showing that it's collapsing that it's time to move forward to the next cycle. And for that to happen from a space of love and harmony, we are required to be present, to be present in our reality, to be that axis that is anchoring what is happening into this reality by connecting to the primordial matrix, restoring our connection to the primordial matrix. Because even the artificial matrix, by collapsing all these timelines organically, is opening the space to bridge in the codes, the algorithms from the primordial matrix into its core. Imagine a love virus, because the primordial matrix, how it is generating and permeating its consciousness onto this reality, is through 0 point energy, which is neutrality. That's love. That's what we get to know as essential love, or source love. Because for every 0 point energy field that is generating a feedback mechanism with that which I showed, which is the space memory network. I'm going to show again. Um, an image. Okay, this, when the 0 point energy is interacting with these barriers, it's generating consciousness. So the primordial matrix is filling in this field with 0 point energy and then restoring this field through a virus that is not recognized by the artificial matrix. Within the algorithms of the primordial matrix, what is known as love is what we were taught that love is. You know, it's limited, it's conditioned. So when we bring in the love from the primordial matrix, we're expanding that love virus for the artificial matrix to keep on opening the space naturally through all those timelines that are collapsing. So now I'm going to show to you another image, which is the video precisely that was shared to me.
Motherfucker. Motherfucker.
Okay, so this image, we can see that perhaps some people can relate it to that spaceship sending something, like perhaps the smaller ships, or like firing things, which is not at all, because then there would be, like a continuity of the video, seeing what is that which was crashing, or like directing somewhere else. And it's not. It's actually showing to us that, well, how I perceive it, and this is what I wanted to share with you, that we have a body. Imagine myself as a multidimensional being. And then I'm opening my field for other fractals of me come through me from different densities and project through my holographic body and then expand through me, generating a paradox. Because for every time travel that happens, even traveling faster than light, TFL, then it's known as creating a paradox. And this is also somehow related through topology. One example is, I'm going to show here, which is the Mobius strip simulation. And this is, here it is. Okay. So for instance, here we have, well, this is not a simulation. Let me see. Well, imagine that this is moving, okay? This is spinning. And what happens mainly is that we have a line, and that line is caught, fissured, and then you put it back together, and then it, instead of creating a ring, it's creating a twisted ring in which realities face, in which timelines face each other with the very same individual that is experiencing one point in space time. They are meeting, like for instance, when you're going through a hypnosis and they're taking you to the time that you were a little kid, and then you experience something else, and you're like correcting something, then you're generating a paradox for your unconscious mind, because there is no difference in between the present, the past, and the future. It's all happening at the same time. So that's a paradox. And from a quantum field, that's happening all the time. However, when we come to this reality, it was time framed linearly, meaning by this, it was programmed to a form of perception, a bidimensional form of perception, in which time doesn't meet. It's just past, present, and future. So by this, limiting, of course, the level of perception of evolution, and therefore limiting our capability to time travel. However, when, for instance, this is what we saw in the video, I just want to perhaps show another, well, this for later. Okay, so for instance, when we are seeing this video, that we have an image that, as I was saying, the example, imagine myself, and through myself, as a multidimensional being, different fractals of myself, different densities are projecting through myself, boom, 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 and then anchoring those different timelines in this present. That paradox, what creates is merging timelines and making other collapse. So that is what is required for our reality to collapse and shift into a higher form of expression of itself. So this is quite good. I mean, I perceive it this way, because even as overwhelming as it can be how all these timelines are narrowing, and our perception of what is happening can be um, diffuse onto some extent, the more that we anchor ourselves to this present, the more that we are becoming access to all those timelines doing their thing, and bringing in the codes of that primordial field, that primordial matrix. Because in the primordial matrix, all of the drama that has happened in the Atlantean times, Lemuria, and so forth, Tartaria, is all entangled to this present moment that we get to choose what we are going to do. It's like everything exists and it doesn't. We are creating our future from our present, and from our future, we are creating our present. And the past is the cumul of information that is actually being the base, the base core to create that reality. Is the information, is the density. So this is why, for instance, in the present, is the eternity. In the past is like what could be perceived, as super slow, and the future super fast. So even though they're all existing and everything is present in this reality, this is how they are categorized through the space-time fabric. Like when you want to access to a very specific um, timeline, they are ordered through this frequency, and that's when a very complex form of approaching to quantum traveling exists, because in order for us to generate and to bring in, to open the space for the primordial codes of the field come through us. Hi everybody, thank you. If you have any questions or something that you want to share, please, I'm more than happy and thankful. So and hi everyone. So, for instance, opening up to receive that information coming from the primordial field is actually the choosing our reality, stopping that loop of vanquishing millions of souls of this reality in order to start again, a program, so that we can actually bring in this reality onto the next level, because it's not about escaping this reality, it's about merging the primordial field within this reality, because this reality is anyway collapsing, you know so when we understand that, when we understand that, we see that it's a reflection of ourselves being tired of going through loops and loops and loops of patterns of behavior, and ready to go to the next place. So perhaps if you're entangled with a very specific patterns of behavior, then it's because you haven't collapsed them yet. So taking this tide in advantage, like surfing it to collapse the inner programs that we are required to transcend, is a huge key. This is one of the reasons that why I say this is amazing what is happening, because through all this information collapsing, those realities that were written in paper yet not set in stone, and even the stone, water comes and flush them. So now what we have right here is the opportunity to rewrite the story through all these timelines, these spheres of reality that are collapsing for our own good. Well, Jacob is asking, how can we collapse the patterns we keep doing? Well, for instance, I do it in a very from the quantum field, and this is kind of what I was sharing. Like when you access to that quantum field, then you're a photon. You're a photon, and then you're locating the the um, the archives within your DNA that are related to those programs. And then you start to bring back your energy from those codes to put them in other codes that are actually a different form of behavior. And then you're anchoring that reality from the quantum field. And you can use coordinates, because every timeline has a code, has a very specific algorithm. So, for instance, if you don't know how to tune into those codes, um, well, I will be sharing more in upcoming videos about this, because it's actually one of the things that I have been transmitting, which is very specific algorithms to torsion this reality through the continuum of space-time. And this is showing now. And I feel so happy and grateful, because it has been a daily work for almost 888 days now, with a group of 72 people, now 62, of anchoring algorithms that would open the space from the primordial matrix to, make easier this process that I received that would be happening in this time. And I received it a couple of years ago. So when we tune into the coordinates of the primordial matrix, then it's easier because then we're going beyond the algorithm of the matrix. So now another way to collapse the patterns, in a more daily basis is you connect with the space-time fabric, like you connect with all those timelines that are collapsing and all that energy that they are generating, and then you bring it into your field and you see how even your hologram is a whole structure of timelines and your DNA is a whole universe of timelines, and you're bringing all that energy of collapse, then you track it and focus it to the patterns where they are located, the ones that you want to transcend. You beam it, you bring in your energy, and then it will collapse itself and you focus it, as I was saying, to another timeline within you, and you can connect with the primordial matrix. I did a meditation just yesterday on this. And so if you want to watch it, even though it's, it was to restore very specific things on the feminine. So the more that we enhance this reality, the more that it comes stronger. So and I will be sharing, as I was saying, more information and perhaps also connections. It's more than a meditation; it's actually a connection, because you're going quantum scale from the holofractographic field. Um, so yeah, and how does this happen? As I was showing the Mobius strip, and how did that spaceship came to reappear or make its fractals appear, as different beamings, and that's through quantum tunneling. Um, when we manipulate the quantum foam to create these wormholes, then we are capable to do quantum tunneling, which is what we would see, as abracadabra, like you say apple, and then you have an apple here, or another form of telekinesis, which instead of seeing the object flowing towards you, you just, close your eyes and then the object is in your hands. This is something that I have experienced, and um, this is quantum tunneling, and that's what's happening. And this is also how ripples of time happen when you get to manifest, or like create all these artifacts, like they used some pyramids for that. They would create a very entangled space field of coherence through very specific vectors pulsing tesseract patterns, which is the fundamental construction of the fourth density. And they would be weaving in between themselves, creating this vortex and allowing the central point to create a ripple of time, which is two constants, two forces of energy coming together at the central point, creating a singularity. And then from that singularity, creating mass, but by accessing to it from another constant, spatiotemporal constant or timeline, and materializing it. We are quantum tunneling all the time. Actually, that's how the light within us travels through our cells. Otherwise, we wouldn't be capable to create that cosmic amount of energy within our mitochondria. So, the more that we connect with this capabilities that we have, the more that we are capable to actually see how we are relating to that space-time fabric that is embedded in every genetic code, in every chromosome, in every gene, everything, in every cell, in every atom. All of this is embedded within our DNA. When we start to relate to this, then it starts to give us feedback. This is how the universe functions. When we recognize or acknowledge the existence of something, then we will start relating to it, and it will continue to give us feedback, like a trend, like a fashion, like a trend. You start to connect with something, then it will start to pop into your field big time, over and over and over again. And then you leave it, and then it stops appearing in your reality, and then you focus on something else. Perhaps it will appear again, but it's just like um, a reminiscence of light of what you had been shaping into your reality. So, bottom line, there is a lot of things that are happening at that, and which will continue to happen now. For instance, everybody, like a lot of people, is talking about how very specific ETs will start now presenting themselves collectively, and I do feel that way. Actually, I have been projecting, like, by the 25th of December, in the planetary alignment of seven planets, there will be a massive alignment in between realities, the realities that are actually overlapping. Instead of showing the faces in between one another, they will actually merge in alignment and restore big time of the primordial matrix core line, meaning by this that all the systems of control will be marked a huge point where they will start to collapse. By this, I don't mean that everything will be honey and rose petals. By this, I mean that the level of alignment that will be given to us will be so clear and evident that if we continue focused on that, then we will keep on expanding and creating this united network, unified field, and the rest will be done organically. There might be a little bit of push up and, like counter back, but the more that we stay focused, it will be much easier for us actually to bring all those primordial matrix codes within our constitution, just acknowledging them and letting them be through all those um, codes, timelines that are collapsing within this reality, and therefore within us. Because if they're what is collapsing mainly is are the recessive programs. And of course, there will be other forces that are coming precisely from those 12 portals that are more active, trying to drain energy, trying um, to to create a lot of interference, to try to create like miscommunication, because those portals, as I was saying in the beginning of this video, they have a very specific cycle. And even though they have been active and, like sucking airplanes and also bringing other energetic fields that have been quite low frequency fields, now there are there is another part that it's very important, and I also want to share in this video, that is that I'm quite sure that if you're listening to this video, you have heard, thank you, Lily, about the in my eyes reflection is, um, I was we I'm quite sure that you have heard about the solar discs, coming from Lemuria, and that were, like anchored in very specific parts of the planet in relation to the ley lines and so forth. So there are also 12 hard disks, and these are more related to Hyperborea time stage. And these hard disks, what will allow is to keep the coherence in our heart, that 0 point energy, so that we are in the eye of the hurricane. And meanwhile, all of these times are collapsing, we are nourishing from all that motion, because actually it's already there. We can see it in many parts of the planet, that everything is opening up for this shift. So we just need to keep focus, and remain and stay in the heart, because the heart is that vortex that will allow us to bring in all that information and transform it into a higher form of expression, the one that we choose to create for this reality. Everything that happened memories, like the fall of Atlantis, cataclysms, Lemuria, separations, and so forth, those are entangled to the artificial matrix. That's why they are merged, and it is like everyone says a different version, you know. And there are similarities. Those similarities are the ones, the pillars that were anchored to the primordial matrix. The rest is what we are filling in the gaps that amnesia generated, and that amnesia precisely happened because the timelines were so merged, so entangled, that they started to create a huge level of decoherence in the outside. What's decoherence? When you are in the eye of the hurricane, there is a lot of coherence. Is the motion, is the force that is, bringing, moving everything. That's us. The rest is creating a big level of decoherence, which is a lot of space in between timelines, a lot of space. And that creates amnesia because it becomes so separated that then it's how do we connect it? And that was filled in with the codes, the encoding, the encryption that was programmed through AI in this artificial matrix. Now, by this, I'm not saying that AI is bad. By this, I'm saying that AI is AI, and it can be used in different ways. And in this case, it was used to create the artificial matrix. That's why AI can predict this reality because it runs its same codes. They're speaking the same language. It was created through AI. That's why it can predict this reality. Now, um, also, for instance, when you dive into ancient textbooks and you can, create a very specific code and then decipher what is going to happen ahead, it's because those books were also created through AI. I'm not saying by AI because someone created that AI, and that race who created AI is who created, at least used that AI to create this reality. You know, so, and I say why in the beginning of this video, because otherwise this reality would have collapsed completely, life vanquished from this earth. So, because someone over accelerated, and it's the same story. It also happens with the Garden of Eden. It also happens with now, when you want to accelerate something, then you're bringing it to death. It's like how I say, or you are really wounding it. For instance, when you crack an eggshell from the outside, when you say, "Hey, birdie, come out, it's time. I will help you come out from that eggshell, from that shell," it will die. However, when the life with inside that eggshell knows its cycles and makes that breakthrough, or a butterfly the same, it's because we are flowing through the natural rhythm. That's the primordial matrix. This artificial matrix was created as an elongation, as an extension of that acceleration of energy, that speed up, over acceleration, actually, over acceleration of energy. So, also, another thing is to go in our organic flow. This is super important. The more that we try to speed up, the more that we are actually enhancing. Imagine us as wheel hamsters, you know, like, okay, now run, now run, now run. No, stop, you know. And we see that that actually the biggest shifts that have happened so far in humanity is when it lays back and says and contemplates its construction and says, okay, yeah, I think it wasn't that way, so it's this way, and then choose. So moving along in the flow of the cosmic pulse, the cosmic rhythm, it also allows for everything that is collapsing, those timelines collapsing, we don't attach to them. We don't attach to that information. Therefore, we are not rolled over by the quantum wave that is happening. We just stay and remain from the space of the heart, which is also detachment. The essence is detached to all the information. It's just letting it through. And now, in a daily life basis, the attachment would be just focusing in ourselves, focusing in ourselves and being and going in and focusing, and if we see that a tie is hide, then go through, like, under that tide, or different techniques depending what you want. If you want to destroy something, if you want to collapse something, then don't stay in front of the wave. It will smash you. you know Take that wave above, go beyond the program, and know that everything that is happening, you're beyond that. You're not attached to any information unless you choose that. And when we remember that, now everything is different from the past. Well, the past, you know before, we would experience that if something was challenging us, even though we tried to detach from it, it would remain from a long time. Now it's deep, but it's fast. So when we remember, go restore that axis within us from a space of neutrality, then it just moves. But it's a nanosecond in which actually we can truly attach to that information and then boom, be vanquished by that tide wave, by that quantum wave, or actually, like, just sit, perhaps, um, attach for a moment and then detach, and then it flows and then it goes. So going to those ETs and the collective presentation that will soon have place, I do feel that it is important for us to remain in the space of the heart, because there is already a lot of information circling that would try to come from a space of fear. And when we remember that we are in this crucial moment, that we can step up actually as part of the galactic community, then we will see that the space is open for that to be. We had been exposed to blindness, to suppression, to and so forth for many years. Now all of that is shifting, and part of that, like trying to fight back, it's part of the process, you know. However, a big part of the artificial matrix is ready to collapse. As I was saying, it's a reflection of us, like tired of that looping. It's like, no, come on, get it now, get it this time, ready to let go. So now, when we actually embrace that power within us, then we just let go, detach from that programmed reality, which is an illusion, in order to receive the tornado. And you know what? That's when the epicenter, the most epic experience happens, which is stepping up to our power, surrendering to our power, and choosing how to shape our reality. Because that's one of the biggest blisses that the primordial matrix offers and shows to us. We are everything. We are the present right now, and everything that was entangled as other timelines are aligned to this present source. And as an expanding uh, tidal wave of distribution, this core line is actually permeating within the rest. And this is where the 5D comes, the fifth density. When we actually mastered that time travel thing, which is now what is happening right now, and thrive and rise gracefully and harmoniously, because we have remembered that we are. So there is a lot of ETs right now that are actually supporting this transition. You can see it in that video that I shared. The fact that they are doing that, emitting themselves from different densities from this within this reality, that is generating a huge paradox. And that paradox is collapsing big timelines that are no longer to serve this process of evolution. So now, um, yeah, this imagine, if you choose so, that that representation and that manifestation of other races that have been for a long time, but now I'm talking like massively, collectively speaking, is a reflection of ourselves from the future. And of course, there are different factions. Of course, there are different, as in this reality, there are different species, there are different races. However, when we see the core of what is happening, then we stay and remain in the heart and know that whatever, as long as we are here, the stronger that we are as a collective. It's not that everything is going to be perfect and in unity and, singing all the time. Perhaps, who knows? We are guiding it. That's the neutral point. We don't engage. We are active. Yes, we are. Through our own role, and then expanding that viral love. And you can also connect with your fractals and bring them in and create more paradoxes aligned to the restoration of that primordial matrix. Yeah, quite excited for everything that is happening, and know that there are a lot of ET groups that are supporting this process. As you know, they have been, like not only in this stage, other stages facilitating a lot of information. When we acknowledge that it's us, our fractals, timelines merge. And it's not egoic. It's not, unless you want to believe that, it's a state of truth. And actually occupying our place. because we are bringing all those resources here to this present moment. And yeah, remembering that the more that we get to use that potential which is within us, no limits, beyond shame. Am I crazy? Am I imagining this? Uh, you know, when we are aware that all the codes, well, let's say 80% of the encoding in this artificial matrix was based on a simulation of control to limit and suppress the inner power. Why? Then you can say, but wait, wasn't this artificial matrix created until the primordial one was regenerated? Yes. However, we're such a powerful race that we get to evolve super fast. So there needed to be some speed limits to actually wait for the primordial, make that alignment with the primordial matrix to fully regenerate and then align. And that moment has happened, is now. That moment is now. And other loops of reality, other cataclysms, like coming again. When it comes to the artificial matrix and that, whether if it restarts again, because as I was saying in the beginning of the video, there are some cycles that happen regardless, and that's connected to the Alcyon's photon belt and the solar system transiting it. That's you know that's that's cosmic scale. When we're talking about the, well, and you know what I mean. Also, we have cosmic scale within, but like that's beyond the artificial matrix. That's something constituted by within universal terms, within cosmic terms. When it comes to the loops that happen within the restoration or the reset of the artificial matrix, this is mostly related to time and amnesia. Is that you're going to revert, you're going to fall in again for amnesia. And of course, the artificial matrix will follow its own, but yet we are here to prove that we are ready, that we have gone through those speed limits to generate that unified consciousness, fully consciousness, and then rise to the next form of perception of reality. So, having said this, thank you very much for watching this video. I know that I have been saying about the Q, the video on the Q part 2. There is so much information that I will bring through that video, that due to all the energy that is moving, I chose to be really precise with the perfect moment to do so. So it's coming. And yeah, I will be bringing a lot of information of how the artificial matrix was anchored, and a lot of things, not only the control systems. I'm talking about really deep to the core things like blueprints, and how, of course, to transcend that and actually restore again the primordial matrix within, as it's time. And all the quantum mainly is agrees on that. It's natural, it's part of the process. We are the ones who choose whether we are ready or not, and I'm ready. Are you? So having said this, thank you everyone for watching this video. Talk to you soon. See you soon. Thank you, David. Thank you, Ariel, Missy, Jacob, Lily, everyone, uh, Samantha, Ida, Patricia, Michael, everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you all. And talk to you soon. Until next time.